Welcome to Bloodbath and Beyond. Today we review Sorority Row. The sisters of Theta Pi are dying to keep a secret.
Directed by Stewart Hendler, starring Briana Evigan, Rumer Willis, Leah Pipes, Jamie Chung, and Margot Harshman. In this reimagining of House on Sorority Row from 1983, a group of sorority sisters decide to play a terrible prank in which they pretend that one of the sisters is dead. One of the sorority sisters' brothers is the target for the prank and doesn't know that they were faking one of the girls' deaths. He panics and actually kills her. And now the sisters have sworn to secrecy and continue on with their lives. Unfortunately, it's not as easy for some, and an uninvited guest shows up on their graduation day. This is actually a recommendation from our top donator over on Patreon, Deke. We got another Briana Evigan. Hell yeah, we're becoming super familiar. This is the third one. Hopefully one day we'll get Step Up to the Streets, but I'm just sitting back waiting. Coincidentally, we just did a review of The Row because we like Sorority Row movies, so we truly appreciate this one, Deke. So what do we like? I like sorority movies, like I just said. It's just fun. Sorority parties look like an absolute blast. Specifically the parties in this movie. There's just babes jumping all over the place. Everyone's having a great time. There's lots of drinking, and there's a killer looming around. And so you don't really know who's gonna die, when it's gonna happen. But in the meantime, you've got one hell of a show because there's just so much going on.
And that's what's great about this style of film is it's almost like a callback to what we had in the late 90s and early 2000s where we have the whodunit aspect where somebody dies and a killer comes back like almost a year later to seek out revenge and you don't know who the killer is. And it turns into a huge guessing game. And this film did a great job with its red herrings because realistically, you don't know who it is. And that's what makes this film fun.
Is it one of the guys? Is it a jealous sorority sister? Is it one of the sorority sisters that can't cope with the loss of killing their friend Megan? There's a lot of different things at play, and you just don't know. Surprisingly, we had a great killer as well. The killer, well, very reminiscent of I Know What You Did Last Summer, but in this one, they traded a raincoat for a graduation gown and a hook for a wacky-ass tire iron. By wacky-ass, I mean a tire iron that is basically just knives and weird shit that you could kill people with.
It's pimped out.
It is pimped out.
Just saying, it looks a little updated, doesn't it? Like someone's pimped it out.
Pimp My Weapon.
That would actually be a massive hit if you got the guys from like Zombie Go Boom Studios mixed with like Dead Meat James. I think Pimp My Weapon would be a real hit.
I really enjoyed the pacing of this film. It started off really high energy, a lot of fun. Then fast forward and the whole film is just you're following the people and you don't know who the killer is. I thought they did a great job with spacing the kills out. We get a lot of kills in this film and part of the fun is guessing which one is going to die.
And the kills were pretty solid too. I mean, they're not over the top gory, but they're innovative. There are some really like memorable scenes. Like for example, a guy getting killed in a shaft. You don't see the impact of a knife going in his neck, but you see the blood trickle over his eyes. And it's just like a really good looking kill.
When you hear that like tire iron being like thrown in the air and hitting someone, you can feel the impact from that sound.
The sound design was actually really, really well done. Everything had some kind of power to it.
Ellie. Whoa.
And no sorority movie would be complete without its sorority babes. And goddamn, we have an excellent, excellent looking cast. And even a few hunks as well.
I really enjoyed our cast too because they had the stereotypes. You know how like when you're watching these movies, you have the character you want to see live, the character you feel bad for when they die, and then the character you just can't wait to see die. And like Jessica did a great job. She was the one who I was like, oh, I can't wait because she was a bitch.
And nobody likes a bitch.
I also really enjoyed Briana Evigan. She's like the hero type. She's the main lead. And she really reminded me of Danielle Harris in this one. I don't know if it's just her look or just like how badass she came across, but I've got a new crush. Now, what didn't we like? Well, this movie is a lightweight slasher. It's very easy to get into, and it's definitely trying to cater to mainstream audiences, including having Audrina Patridge from The Hills. I think they almost made it too fluffy in some ways, specifically in Jess's case.
Easy there, Leslie Lohan. This is make-believe, remember?
There'd be some pretty intense moments and she would kind of brush it off, drop like a one-liner that's kind of like not really funny, but light enough to make the audience go, huh.
Nobody is dead, Ellie. Well, Megan.
It just felt a little out of place in comparison to all the other characters that weren't really doing that. Also, why the hell did Megan have a flip phone when everyone else is rocking regular smartphones?
It's just props. They're easier that way.
Only one person has a flip phone?
Hey, I heard the Motorola flip phone's coming back.
We all need to be prepared with what comes with that.
Story-wise, I get why they have Maggie's character there, but I just felt like that was too much in your face, especially when the girls are like leaving the party and they run into her. Subtlety is key when it comes to a red herring, and in this one it just felt like they were forcing her character down our throat, and I didn't really like that.
Yeah, she seemed pretty awkward as well. And the fact that she became like a mainstay at some point in the movie, and you're just like, okay, well, like she can't possibly be the killer, and still people are questioning whether she's the killer or not. It's like, you can see the fucking killer sometimes, and they're like, well, maybe it's her. Perhaps that's just like another way to build up like potential killers, is just like, well, if some people leave and some people join in, who knows what's gonna happen, because you haven't built up enough trust with Maggie, and you just don't know what Garrett's doing. Who knows? I'm impartial to this. Now it's time for our final thoughts and ratings. Overall, this was an enjoyable popcorn flick. It's just a simple slasher with a bare bones premise, an enjoyable cast, and a cool killer. It's a Sorority Row movie. You know exactly what you're getting into, and this was the late 2000s, so it had that sweet polish that we're still constantly looking for to this day. It's a solid whodunit, but about 3/4 through the movie, you can pretty much figure out who it's going to be, which takes a little bit away. And I wasn't really in love with the final act of the film, but it's still a pretty good time, and I would definitely recommend it. So I'm gonna give this 3.5 badass Carrie Fishers out of 5.
I had a lot of fun with this film. I enjoy a good whodunit, I enjoy sorority babes, and I enjoy some really cool kills. And I felt that that's what this film delivered. I felt they did a good job creating red herrings and pacing this film out to make it really enjoyable. And I thought each person played their role to a T. However, I wasn't a big fan of Maggie's character, and that sucks because then it takes away from the whodunit aspect, it takes away from the guessing game, and you're just like, well, I can kind of see where you're going with this now, and you don't want that in whodunit. You want to leave it to the very end to be like, OMG, did that really just happen? And I find that we don't get a lot of these movies these days, and I like this style movie. I would be down for Sorority Row 2, easily. So with that being said, I'd give this film 4.5 booty flaps out of 5.
As always, thank you for watching. Like this video and comment below with your thoughts on the film if you've seen it. If you haven't and you do want to check it out, there are links in the description where you can find it. And if you want the opportunity to recommend a movie for us to review, check out the Patreon links also in the description. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel to stay updated with everything Bloodbath and beyond.